Today we are forced to discuss a new, extremely dangerous and irresponsible adventure by Western Jerusalem, this time pushing the region towards a large-scale nuclear catastrophe. On the night of June 13th, Israel launched a series of large-scale strikes on the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The attacks targeted sleeping cities, civilian infrastructure, and peaceful nuclear facilities under the safeguards of the International Atomic Energy Agency. We heard from the speakers about civilian casualties. This unprovoked attack, no matter how much Israel claims the opposite, is a gross violation of the UN Charter and international law. It seems that the Israeli leadership is convinced that it has complete freedom of action in the region, and, apparently, they believe that Israel can violate all legal foundations and replace all international structures, including the UN Security Council and the IAEA. The Russian Federation strongly condemns this action by Western Jerusalem. Its military adventures are pushing the region to the brink of a major war. The responsibility for all the consequences of these actions falls entirely on the Israeli leadership and those who encourage it. The possible radiological consequences of the destruction of nuclear facilities are of particular concern. Our country has been warning for many years about the unacceptability of a forceful solution to the issues surrounding the Iranian nuclear program, which could entail grave consequences not only for the Middle East region, but for the entire world. However, our calls have not been heard. And now the situation is developing according to the most negative and unpredictable scenario. Madam Chairperson, Israel's actions are aimed at undermining the ongoing negotiating efforts in various formats to find solutions to reduce tensions around the Iranian peaceful nuclear program. While the whole world is waiting with hope for the results of the next round of indirect contacts between Iran and the United States, which were previously planned for June 15th, Israel decided to anticipate them in the way it needed and began bombing Iran's nuclear energy infrastructure, demonstrating disregard for laws, norms, agreements, rules, everything that is the basis of civilized interaction between states. However, responsibility for what happened lies not only with the State of Israel, but also with its closest allies. This is a direct consequence of the connivance of Western countries, which for months deliberately and methodically promoted anti-Iranian hysteria both in the UN Security Council and in the IAEA Board of Governors. These states did not even try to find a constructive solution to the crisis around the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action and Security Council Resolution 22-31 that approved it. Their task was different, to put pressure on Iran by any means possible, portraying it as the source of all the troubles in the region, and groundlessly presenting Tehran's legitimate response steps in the form of activating the protective mechanisms provided for by the action plan as a violation of non-proliferation obligations. At the same time, the Iranians have been patient for years and have not refused to cooperate with the IAEA or to engage in dialogue in order to find negotiated solutions. We would like to remind you, and this fact is now of fundamental importance, that all the problems around the action plan began due to the unilateral withdrawal of the United States from the nuclear deal in 2018. As well as due to the fundamental unwillingness of Great Britain, France and Germany to fulfill their obligations in accordance with the plan, including the creation of conditions for Tehran to receive material benefits from the lifting of unilateral sanctions by the European Union, which were in effect until 2015. And subsequently they even resumed unilateral sanctions pressure in violation of Article 25 of the UN Charter. The European Union has also joined this pressure, neglecting its duties as an impartial coordinator of the Joint Commission of the Action Plan. The latest blatant example was the latest biased and unrealistic resolution of the IAEA Board of Governors adopted yesterday at the Vienna venue, which talks about some fictitious threat to international peace and security from Iran's nuclear program. And this despite the fact that Iran strictly complies with its obligations under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons and the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement. Iran has been and remains the state most strictly verified by the IAEA, and the agency's secretariat reports clearly indicate the absence of risks of nuclear proliferation. That is, the Western participants in the plan have been doing everything all this time to add fuel to the fire of escalation, and in fact, they have been inciting it. Their artificial creation of tension on international platforms only spurred Israel to take radical steps, which created the illusion that everything is permissive to it. In the context of the current Israeli strikes, special attention is drawn to the information circulating in the media about the probable coordination of actions by Israel and the British intelligence services, which immediately after the Israeli strike on Iran hid the Israeli aircraft involved in the operation at their base in Cyprus. We also recorded statements from the Israeli side that Germany, which is a participant in the action plan, and Italy were warned in advance about its attacks. It became known that our American colleagues were also notified about the strikes. The Israeli strikes were also supported by the French, who clearly knew about them in advance. We will not be surprised in this regard if the participants of this group of like-minded people begin to vie with each other in condemning Iran for retaliatory actions taken in accordance with Article 51 of the UN Charter. We are closely monitoring the actions of the IAEA's Secretariat in the current situation, the lives and health of whose employees have been put at risk as a result of the Israeli military adventure. We expect that the Director General of the agency will provide objective assessments and analysis of what is happening, including from the point of view of the consequences for the radiological situation. Madam Chairperson, unprovoked attacks on the territory of sovereign Iran, targeted strikes on peaceful nuclear infrastructure facilities cannot have any justification. The international community should not and cannot remain indifferent to such a provocation. Connivance at such actions is the path to a major war in the region and a serious threat to global security. We are convinced that the UN Security Council is obliged to give an unambiguous legal and political assessment of Israel's actions, as well as call for an immediate end to any forceful pressure and a rejection of the practice of unilateral military steps. It is necessary to support all diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalation and a return to negotiations. We would like to emphasize once again that the settlement of issues related to the Iranian nuclear program is possible only through peaceful, political, and diplomatic means. No forceful solution here can be legitimate and viable. Incidentally, the United States itself has repeatedly stated this, justifying its readiness to continue negotiations. Russia remains committed to strengthening international law, observing the UN Charter and searching for solutions that exclude the further slide of the region into a new destructive war. We are ready to cooperate with all who advocate diplomacy in the search for ways to resolve existing contradictions peacefully. Thank you.